Bonjour! Today I'm going to be doing March wrap-up. So March was an amazing reading month for me. I managed to read 7 books and none of them were novellas and I loved all of them. So let's get started. The first book I read in March was Illusions of Fate by Kirsten White. So this book is about a girl who moves to this magical island and she gets caught into this political power structure. I actually got to meet Kirsten White 2 times and I did videos about that, so go check out my bookish events playlist for those videos. And Kirsten White is already going to be one of my favorite authors. I love her so much. She's so funny, she's so sweet, and I love her so much, and I absolutely loved this book by her. It was so unique. I've never read anything like this before. The way the magic system was explained was like something I've never seen before, and it was so intriguing. There was also like a mystery part to this book that was so interesting. There's also a bit of a romance, and it was like the cutest romance ever. I love this book so much, and I love Kirsten so much. I cannot wait to read more of her books and meet her again because she is amazing, and I can't say enough how much she is amazing and how much I love her. I obviously gave this book 4 stars. I am starting to try to be a little bit more critical when I'm reading books. Like, I'm trying to give 4 stars to books I really loved, and then 5 stars is to books that like changed my life and stuff, and like top favorite books. I'm trying to be more critical, but it's probably not going to work out because I love every book I read most of the time. The next book I read in March is Hamlet by William Shakespeare. So I read this for class and I absolutely loved Hamlet so much. I loved this play. I am obsessed with Shakespeare, absolutely obsessed with him. When I read Romeo and Juliet a couple years ago, also for class, I fell in love with his story and the way he writes and just everything. I'm like so in love and obsessed with Shakespeare. So when we were reading Hamlet, I loved this story so much. Hamlet is definitely one of my favorite William Shakespeare stories ever. If you guys read Shakespeare, tell me what is your favorite play by him and what have you read by him. I've only read 3 of his plays: Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, and Hamlet. As I didn't read all of Julius Caesar because we only had to read like a little bit for class, but I didn't really like Julius Caesar that much. Like, it was interesting and like I love the language, but it wasn't like my favorite. But I absolutely fell in love with Romeo and Juliet so much. That was the book that made me fall in love with Shakespeare, and I loved Hamlet. So yeah, tell me your favorite Shakespeare story. I gave this book 5 stars, obviously. Next book I read in March was Riders by Veronica Rossi. So I did a review about this, so I'm not really gonna talk about this that much. It's spoiler free too. So this book is basically about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse trying to save the world and a bunch of other stuff. So go check out my spoiler-free review if you want to know more about my thoughts. I absolutely loved this book. When I was reading this, I was absolutely obsessed with this book. Like, I couldn't stop talking about it, couldn't stop like thinking about it, couldn't stop reading it. I just got so obsessed with this book. I also got to meet the author, and that was such a pleasure to meet her. Like, she is just so cool. I also met her when I met Kirsten White again, so I also did a video vlog about that. The next book I read in March is Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. So I also did a spoiler-free review of this, so I'm not going to talk about it. But this is basically about a princess who she doesn't want to marry this guy that she's never met before, so she flees to a nearby village to live a normal life. And I gave this book 3 stars. I was a little disappointed. I really liked this book. So much hype behind this book, so I really expected it to really love it, and I liked it. Next book I read in March is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. So I also did a spoiler-free review of this, and it's already up, so go check that out. I'll leave the link down below. This is basically about a girl who is employed to take care of this disabled man, and during taking care of him, she falls in love with him and he with her. This book literally changed my life. I can't stop thinking about it. I absolutely loved it. It's definitely one of my favorite books of all time, and obviously I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and I'm so excited for the movie. It looks so close to the book, and I'm so excited. After Me Before You, I was really sad, and everybody suggested to read like contemporaries and stuff, and that would help. So I decided to pick up Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between by Jennifer E. Smith. This book is about the last night of 2 teenagers. This couple, in the morning, both of them are going off to college in 2 separate parts of the US. And so they have one last night to decide whether they want to stay together or if they want to break up. And this essentially is a story about saying goodbye to your hometown, to your friends, to your family, and going into a whole new part of your life, which is college.
Teach me how to say goodbye.
This book was so hard to read. I really loved it. It was written very beautifully and I really enjoyed it. But the thing is, this book hit really close to home and it just made me so sad. A lot of people read to escape the problems of their life. I don't do that, but every once in a while, definitely. And this book just reminded me so much of like my life and what it's gonna be once I have to go off to college next year, and it just made me so sad reading it. It made me sad for myself because I know I'm gonna have to go through that, and it was really hard to read, and it was probably like the worst choice to read after Me Before You, but I still really loved it and I gave it 4 stars. The last book I read in March is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I finally finished this book. This book was on my TBR for like 3 months. I'm not even kidding. It was my most anticipated novel to like read, and I even pre-ordered this in June. Like, I can't believe I finally read this. I've been wanting to read this for so long and I absolutely loved it. This is basically about a heist in the Grisha world, and obviously I gave this 5 stars, and I loved it so much. It was amazing and it was so exciting to read. I didn't think it was possible to get even better than the Grisha trilogy, which is like my favorite series of all time, one of them. But it did. I did a review about this book, so I'm not going to talk more about this. So it's going to go up soon. These are all the books that I read in March that I own. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Comment below what you read in March and your favorite Shakespeare play. Let's talk about Shakespeare in the comments, please. I'm obsessed with him. Let's talk about him. Au revoir.